Welcome back to the Wood Panel. This week we got Chase Crawford on from 4x3, the revolutionary Cincinnati company. Chase is on Forbes under 30. Pretty revolutionary guy, dude. Every time I see you do something, I'm like, man, he just taking big strides to do cool stuff. And I really appreciate you coming out. And I'm going to hand you the stage. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, I'm Chase. I did a company called 4x3. Started that in 2017. That was I don't want to say beginning of my entrepreneurial endeavors, but started just making movies with my friends around town, little low budget films. And the last film I made was $1 million film out in Spain.
What?
Debuted at #1 on Netflix. Know a lot about pivoting. COVID happened, and we went from indie films because that was the cool thing, and then in COVID, just cost twice as much to make those. We went from that to comedy specials and did 90 comedy specials in 3 years, and put that all on our YouTube. And that was kind of an effort to get to know our audience better, because we had distribution, right? We had Tubi and Amazon and some of these other companies working with us on the indie film route. But as far as growing a company and ultimately building something to sell, you need a bigger catalog. And, comedy specials were a quick way to do that. So we did that. And my most recent entrepreneurial endeavor, I am an investor in 2 soccer teams now.
Oh, nice.
So one's in Slovenia, and I just invested in a women's soccer team down in Florida. So,
dude, doing it all, that's freaking honestly amazing. The only thing that I knew about 4x3 obviously was the comedy sector of it. So tell me how it started. Like, what amped you to say, okay, I'm going to start a film? What is it exactly?
Yeah. So I'd consider us like an independent film studio or an independent creative house.
Yeah.
We finance everything, film everything, and handle the releases mostly in-house. I would say 90% of the time. On those bigger projects, we'll put it in the hands of the big dogs who can get it to Warner Brothers or can get it to Netflix. But on the most part, we're doing our own thing, like really trying to knock down doors and I don't want to say twist some wrists, but get our stuff out there.
Yeah, dude, I find it amazing that, you said you just started like right before COVID.
Yeah, so 2017, that was like the first year. And before that, I had been working for an independent sports media startup called Stadium Sports.
Okay.
They're mostly known for like when you fill up your gas tank, if sports highlights come on,
like
that's
the sports
Stadium.
highlights there, yeah.
And their whole game was, hey, there's a ton of NCAA games out there, and Fox and ESPN and CBS, they're all cherry picking the top.
Yeah.
But what about Colgate versus Lafayette? And what about Harvard basketball? And they created this digital platform and really kind of revolutionized sports television, in my opinion. They would go out and buy these rights for super cheap. Then they would essentially give students a full internship credit for running camera for one game.
That's amazing.
And all of that would go on the website, and then I would kind of be in charge of live clipping that, posting it, and even games that we didn't have the rights to, I would go and do Snapchat stories and live tweet and that sort of deal. So
I feel like I always try to like touch in all these things. I'm like really trying to grab a lot of stuff and find what sticks. And like, obviously you're a lot deeper in the video world, but it's just like, dude, the amount of stuff that goes into that, and you've known this, like when sometimes people will be like, well, this is really expensive, or like this seems really cheap, and like trying to find that price point stuff and trying to explain the amount of work that goes into stuff is so hard to get to from like me to a consumer. And but I just find it so wild that you're able to find all these clients and stuff, because for me as like a guy that's starting out in it more, it's like it seems difficult. Like I feel like that's the first hurdle to get over.
Yeah, I'll just say this is not a jab to anyone, but I fortunately was just really focused on a vision from even when I got into it. Shot very few commercials, shot 0 weddings.
Yeah.
I'd rather volunteer on an indie film and learn more about that from a mentor than, spend any time anywhere else. So that was my real blessing in disguise, was just knowing I wanted to make movies. And then It all kind of came together when I was 20, and my friend had just graduated college, and instead of making a thesis, he wanted to make a feature and knew I wanted to get into it. So we pretty much, I mean, transparently paid ourselves nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be fake to the viewers, but
Right.
first movie, expect to make nothing. And we did that so we could have a resume.
Yeah.
Then after we made that, we had resumes that said, I'm a film producer, I'm a film director. And 12 months later, I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, producing a $250,000 film where I was able to get paid.
Yeah.
And I worked with a guy named Adam Conover on that film and really found that my sauce is bringing teams together, but then I don't want to say punching up, but dating out of our league as far as talent goes and really pitching these Hollywood names like, hey, we're doing an indie film in Bowling Green. Will you come do it for $2,000 a day? And putting, 10% of our budget into these guys that had been in a couple episodes of Stranger Things, but knowing that it would elevate the entire level of the project. Because if you're just working with like college actors or, local pros, it's not going to help you break through.
I love that. I just feel like something that I had Nate Nunmaker on here. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a local guy as well that does like video and stuff like that. And that was one thing that kind of just kept reoccurring to us was like just taking the risk and like just doing like trying just to get up to the plate and swing for the fences. And it just seems like that's what you did, and it just paid off. You know what I mean? And it's still paying off, and it's still like a growing thing where you're like, I don't know, just finding the ability to. I mean, for me to make a movie just seems like, how does that happen? Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I would love to. I'd love to come and like be on a set with you guys and just work for free and just see like how that goes. It'd be amazing.
I'm doing a movie in upstate New York this fall,
dude.
Yeah.
So how do you get approached by someone and say, okay, I want to make a movie?
Well, now it's a lot easier because I've made a bunch of movies,
right?
Like humbly, but before it was a lot of looking on Facebook groups and kind of reading through the lines, even seeing these one-man bands, right? Writer, director, actor, editor.
Yeah.
They're trying to do everything by themselves in addition to producing, which is a full task.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you want to be dealing with while you're trying to focus on the creative of the film.
Yep.
So the film in Kalamazoo, I had seen someone post a big casting call, literally looking for every actor, help with locations, all of this. And instead of being like, hey, I know an actor, hey, I know a location, I was just like, hey, I know a producer.
Yeah.
I'd love to take over this world for you so that you can focus the next 6-8 weeks on the movie, the story that you're about to tell and spend all this money on. And that it was really, I would say, the first 5 films I did. And after that, it was kind of just like, hey, Chase, we see you producing films. Would you read this script? Would you consider this project? And I'm always a yes guy when I can be. So, and I think a big fuel to my fire, and not to sidetrack us too much, but I had my first kid at 18.
Cool.
So I couldn't be a starving artist because I had a family. Starving family is not that cool. And I really had like the pedal to the metal as far as the vision and ambition goes. I couldn't wait. Like once the door closed, I was like, cool, next door, let's go.
Yeah.
And that was super beneficial to me in hindsight. It was tough during the time, but it was literally the fuel to the fire that needed to happen.
Dude. And I kind of feel like, so I don't have a family per se, but for myself, there's just like certain benchmarks I have to be at. So that's why I'm working like 3 or 4 jobs at the same time. And, kind of like that starving artist thing, like each one of these new endeavors would start off, if I started off, I'd be starving, you know what I mean? Because I'm like new in them, but just trying to find ways to like make the money somewhere else and then follow the passion the other way, and like balancing those out and just being in like a life where it's like I'm doing what I love and making it work. I just feel like that's what, like, no matter what, that's what I'm trying to get to,
That's the comedy side. Coming back to that, is COVID happened. I focused a lot on like the Fortune 500 clients I have. They would pay me to creative direct or produce or just in general, like anything that was in my wheelhouse that I could do for them, I was doing. And that paid really well, but I'm not the type of guy that needs, I drive a Honda CR-V with 250,000 miles, dude. I'm about as redneck as it gets still when it comes to that sort of thing. So I was like, get this money off of me, put it back into the business, because this is what I want to be doing 10 years from now, not creative directing, this stuff. And I mean, really, it's kind of a Moneyball approach, and how we got into it, circling back to that, because I feel like that's a fun question. Like, the unions had shut down indie films pretty much. If you weren't willing to go through the 14 levels of hell to make an indie movie, you couldn't make one.
Okay.
And stand-up comedy, I mean, it's a guy with a mic, and people are either coming or they're not. There wasn't like distancing. There's not unions, so it was a lot easier to work around. And especially when we can approach the comedian directly and say, "Hey, we've got stuff on Tubi and Amazon. We think that we can just shoot this show and put it there, and then it works." Then you get the buy-in from a lot of other people. So, and genuinely, our approach to that was, I don't want to say new or push the industry, because I'm not here to pat myself on the back at all, but we made the comedians business partners in the special. So we put up the money, but after that money returns, we're 50-50 partners in that. And that got their buy-in a lot quicker than either them paying us or, you know, I don't know what another version of that would look like.
Where are these films at? Like the comedy specials?
Comedy specials, a lot of them live on our YouTube. So that became a primary focus, just to get to reach our audience better. Yeah. We put all of our stuff anywhere it can go. I'll just be kind of open and honest about that. So some of this stuff lives on Tubi's and Amazon's, and other stuff lives on Zumo's and Roku channel. And maybe some smaller platforms, but still we're trying to monetize all of these the best that they can be. Yeah. And YouTube is really just a great, you're removing the barriers from the audience, right? So anyone can go on YouTube, anyone can watch it, anyone can sit through an ad. And really our breakthrough with that didn't happen until like the past 3 or 4 months. We had done 800 uploads in 4 years and had 15,000 subscribers. In the past 4 months, we've grown 60,000 subscribers. That's amazing. So that whole traction just kind of came out of nowhere, and I think it's because we got on shadow banned. Okay. Just transparently, we have a lot of dirty or vulgar content, and I think it was just kind of affecting everything that we were posting. And I did an appeal claim with YouTube, and suddenly we're getting 1,000 subscribers a day. I'm like, what is happening?
That's amazing. For me, like doing this podcast, first of all, I know that I'm limiting myself, because like people be like, "Are you on Spotify or Apple?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm only on YouTube." And
you're not limiting. I hate when people say that. No, you have a vision.
Yeah. And I truly do have a vision for it, and I can see where I want it to be, and I understand starting here. It's just like getting there in that process, and I I'm starting to see like it's a steps thing, because a lot of times you're like, "Well, I have a large support system, or I know a lot of people and all that stuff," and then it's like, that doesn't translate to long-term YouTube views. That doesn't translate to like, and also that doesn't translate to like, this is me. Like I have to do all the shooting, editing, like all that stuff. So like as a one-man band, like you said, I have stretched it as far as I like can, and I know that I need to like to go to the next step is like kind of bring in somebody with a similar vision and like the editing part or production, and like have like more of a script, or more, not even a script, but like a vision and a more something to help take that next step, you know? Mm-hmm. And for me, I right now I'm just so stretched thin, because like I'm opening a vintage store, you know, I work my full-time normal job, and then I'm still trying to like fit this in, and it's like I love doing this, and it's almost like the build up to it, I'm like, man, I've got to get this done and then do this. But then I'm like, man, when I get down here and I'm doing it, I'm like, I love this part of it. So if I can kind of, the same thing you said, like kind of take my hands off of it a little bit and get people that have the vision and understand it. Because that's another thing, you know, taking your hands off and like trusting someone is a lot, especially when you're used to doing it also. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I just like, you know, kind of feel like I'm in that spot where I'm like, all right, I got to like figure out how to slowly progress this. And I've gotten like I had a girl on here that was like an Instagram influencer, and like that really helped the one episode, and that really helped like the clips that she was in. But you then understand, okay, like not one thing's just going to traject this like that. It takes time, energy, and just like the constant vision to get there.
Mm-hmm. We could do an ad right now. Hey, everyone on Instagram, Logan needs an editor and community manager. Do you think this is you? Do you like watching the wood panel? Do you want to see the wood panel continue? Logan needs you. DM him today, and he might even pay you money to do it.
I would pay you money. If you are very skilled at your job and have passion for doing editing and can see potential in this podcast, hit me up.
And it's as easy as that. I bet you'll get at least one message from that.
Really?
And that person might be the person that helps you focus on your vision more. I don't want to say be the breakthrough to this podcast, but that's where I found a lot of support in growing 4x3 is, we, in the comedy thing, we grew so fast. At one point we had 3 full-time editors just cooking up comedy specials. And again, I'm not here to toot my own horn, but for 52 straight weeks, we released a new comedy special on YouTube every week. That was more quantity, at least, than Netflix and HBO combined in that same period.
Yep.
So I feel like if you can build a team around you that loves what you're doing as well, because I love what I'm doing, but I can't speak for everyone on the team.
Right.
But yeah, when everyone on the team's on the same page, it really like clicks. And I think it's not a bad thing to ask for help.
Right. Did you ever, during your process of doing this, like feel like overproduction of stuff or putting stuff out there kind of would be viewed as like annoying or like worried about how people would see it? Because I feel like that's inevitably a normal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're like, do people care about what I'm putting on the internet? Does it seem like I'm like thirsting for attention from people? Do I just have the wrong audience in front of me? Like, what kind of factors did you have with that? Because I face that every day where it's like, I'm building all these different like small little things that I'm trying to, build up, and I just have this inner struggle where I'm not usually like that. I'm not usually an insecure person, but I do start to face it where it's like, am I doing something that people care about, or am I in my own way, or what?
No, I think, well, one, we all face peer judgment.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the quicker you can get over that, the better life will be. But for
Right.
anyone out there, I mean, when I was making my first movie, I told people I wanted to build the next Sony, and they were like, who's this kid?
Yeah.
And we aren't close to that, but without a super strong and mighty vision like that, it wouldn't have gotten to where it's at now.
Right.
And I don't see it growing to the size of Sony, but now I feel capable in my skill set to where if Sony did call, I feel like I could make a film for them.
Yeah.
That being said, I think of the 8 billion people on this earth and how I don't know all of them and how maybe 0.1% know me in real life, 0.01 probably. Yeah. And yeah, it's just once you get outside of that bubble of personal people who will judge you personally for what you're doing and find the believers in like, oh, dude, I love the podcast that you do. Oh, man, I love your vintage shop.
Yeah.
Those people are out there 100%.
And I hear so many, like, obviously you're not going to hear the people that are saying bad things, but the amount of people that come up to me that, like, I've never even met that are like, dude, I love your podcast. And it's like, just like that, it's like, all right, I'm doing something. I'm taking the right steps. And it's like reaching a local crowd right now. And it's like kind of, gaining buzz like that. And then, it's like, all right, I can see it. I can see where it could work, and I can see, and people love it. People love the personality of this. They can feel like the authenticity. And when I tell people we come down here, we turn the camera on, we sit down and we go, I think they like that. And it makes them feel like they're part of this conversation. And it's just like real life people that are chasing any type of dream or, have done extraordinary things, and just telling the story of how that happened and why they find, and what they find value and what helped them. And I think that for me, that's the vision, and it just gets stronger and stronger. Because when I first started this, I was like, I have no idea. I know that I have the ability to talk. I have a camera, and I can buy some mics. And then the rest of it, let's just see what sticks. And every time, it's just like every person I talk to, the same conversation type moves. You know what I mean? So, but for me, I do feel like there are times that I'll struggle with that, because I'm also a guy that's just like, I don't care about any of it. So I'm trying to like balance both of those, where am I being annoying on the internet? Am I being that guy? And, just trying to figure that out.
Like, again, for a lot of people, I think their vision's rooted in fame, which is where they immediately mess up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know too many people who, or even at our levels, who got into it for fame, right?
Right.
We're entrepreneurs. We got into it because we had a vision and a dream,
Yep.
and we just couldn't shake it. And I think people become interested along the way, but there's no, there's not a famous film producer or whatever. Like, I didn't do this to get a bunch of followers, and neither did you.
Right.
You wanted to have conversations with people. And I think from your approach, just the more genuine conversations, the bigger the following's going to have, and or the bigger following you're going to have. And I think that happens from like the unscripted side of it, right? You just sit down, talk. He's telling the truth. That's what happened. And I think that that's really where it just leads to, it just follows that genuine passion that you have for exploring people's minds or approaches or whatever.
Well, because once you start asking about, okay, your passions, and then you tell me about your business, and now I'll ask you a question about, like, as you were a kid, what fueled that? When did you know, like, okay, I wanted to do this? And, it starts to start triggering stuff in your brain, and then people really learn about who you are and what you stand for. And I just find that, I think that people want a story, right? Mm-hmm. When you're watching a film, you want a story, and that's what this is. It's a story of you. Mm-hmm. And I just find that to be fun.
Yeah, no, I got into this, or got into wanting to get into this when I was a kid, watching a little TV like this. Yep. That's why it's called 4x3. And I just dreamed of being one of the behind the scenes guys of a show like Full House.
Dude, and I love Full House.
Dude, how cool is it that they made millions of kids and families just laugh? Yeah. And they don't even know the impact that they have. I'm sure they do now, but I just thought of that as like a little kid. I was like, it's so cool. This guy's the guy who made this show is never going to meet me, but he doesn't even know how much impact, like starting a day with a smile, that's huge as a kid. Yeah. And I don't want to say they don't make shows like that anymore, but to touch on that, it's like Family Matters. Watch an episode of Family Matters. Watch every episode, right? They touch on like every major issue in life in a way that it's like, okay, well, I can lean in on my family. Yeah. And we can get through this together. Where are those shows now?
True. And for me, so now that I'm thinking about this, the shows I watched every single day, Full House, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, and then some variation of the other ones. And I'm like, dude, watching like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air helped me go through life. Like that was something you could lean back on, and you're really onto something. So like the stuff that it taught you subliminally that you didn't understand that it was, especially Full House. It's like a whole blended family that like teach you to kind of love beyond blood, a community of people that just came together. No one ever said it's kind of weird that like two uncles are living downstairs and stuff like that. It was just like with a smile. It was love. And that's pretty deep. And I feel like those shows, you're right, they don't make shows like that anymore. I don't see, you know what I mean?
They need to bring it back, but not the reboot. I hate the reboots. They just need to like actually come up with something fresh that's not, I don't know. Again, there's not a ton of shows where a mom, dad, and some kids can sit down and all be entertained right now. Right. It's like literally Blippi and Ryan's World, or like The Last of Us and You, and it's the in-between is just non-existent.
And I find like when I, around kids and they're obsessed with the stuff that's on YouTube, and to me it's like, it's just pure brain rot, which respectfully it is. And then someone was telling me, one of them, I can't remember which one it was, one of them has like a science behind it where it's like a legit hypnotizing the kid. And the parent learned about it and was like, you can watch, and it's like as they come off the show, they're getting real withdrawals because of the dopamine that it's creating in their brain. And I can't remember which one it was.
It's probably Ryan. Either Ryan or Mr. Beast.
I'm sure they all have their own variations, but it was the one that like has different colors come up. It's for the younger kids. But like it's just crazy. So I try to like tell these kids like you need to just watch the old stuff like SpongeBob. You know, Nickelodeon was a true gem for us, and then Cartoon Network and Disney. Like we had it pretty good growing up.
We had it made.
We had it made.
Are we becoming
dude.
the old guys talking about?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Dude.
Yeah, let me tell you about 2005.
Yeah,
best years
you
of my
kids
life.
Don't know nothing about 2005.
Yeah,
dude. If you watch though, like I seen like flashbacks to 2013, which is when I graduated, and it may be what 12 years ago, but it's also like the world has changed. You know what I mean? And I didn't think that the world would change like that, and now that it has, I'm like, I'm that old guy.
Yeah, the life is, or it went from gym tan laundry to, I mean, yeah, now everyone on Instagram. No shade to the Instagram influencers, but it's just like everyone's a influencer in their own way versus like TV used to have this stronghold on you that was like, these are the people that are interesting. And yeah, MySpace exists, but like we're making a show about these people.
Yeah.
And that was always fascinating to me. Even shows like Viva La Bam, stuff like that.
I loved Viva La Bam. And that was another show, like obviously he was doing completely recklessness, but for me it was just pure entertainment. And I was like, dude, this guy just like marches to the beat of his own drum, does whatever he wants. Like that show was badass. I
can't imagine that as a YouTube channel today. That if only he would have had a more stable, let's say, past 15 years. But he's come back around. We love Bam. He's gonna be on the new Tony Hawk. I'm sure. Do you follow him or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh boy, he's had an interesting,
rough life in the last couple of years, and I truly just like connect with that because that stuff, like it's hard. Addiction's hard, and it's not like they choose that life, and then it just imagine his life. Imagine being like a untouchable person on TV, and then all of a sudden you kind of fall off, and then boof,
yeah. I think probably passing of his friends had some things to do with that. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I experienced one of my friends dying, and it was just tough. It was like some of the lowest lows I've ever experienced mentally, and I didn't want to get out of bed sometimes. It was just, I can't imagine if you had all of the extra stuff in your life. Yeah, well, you just have extra stuff in your life that you go to try to make you feel better, and then you're just so reliant on it.
Yeah,
it's like
same thing. My brother passed away. Let's see, early last year, and that's a rough road to travel. And truly, what got me through it, and you know, the way that you can go through those kind of things is with my family. You know, and just leaning on your actual family that's what gets you. Anything that I've ever been through, like. I'm lucky. I feel bad for people that don't have these strong roots with their family because, like my brother Dakota, I literally call him every single day, and now he works with me, so I see him every day. But before that, it was like there was never a day I wasn't like, "What's my brother doing? Is my brother all right?" You know, and even starting like from the very beginning of our life together, I remember we went to the dentist, and I was like staying in the lobby, and he was crying in the back, and I started crying because I'm like, I feel my brother's pain. Like I'm not cool with him back there just getting like wrenched on, you know? And it was one of those things like whenever my dad would take my brother Dakota somewhere and I'd be at school, but he was like in preschool or whatever. So he was at half day and they'd be getting McDonald's and he'd be like, well, we need to get Logan something, you know? And it's just like that unconditional love that can never be replaced. And if people don't feel that, I really, that my soul hurts for them, you know?
I don't know where that comes from. I have a pretty good connection with my whole family. And yeah, I mean, I rely a lot on my wife now for everything. Yeah. And because we've got 3 kids, and I don't want to say that's the evolution of family, but you kind of come from a family and then you have your own. Yeah. And yeah, I know that period of time was tough on her as well. And she worried a lot about me. And yeah, I'm the guy that works in the house too, so it's an extra level of pressure to step up to the plate and keep taking those swings when you just don't even want to play.
Yeah, I 100% get that, and I think that the courageousness and like the level of perseverance it shows to do those things is just that's beyond power. You know what I mean? And and above all this stuff, whenever we leave Earth and whatever else happens, it's like I think the things that we pass down to our family and the care and the person that we are, that's what's going to shine through forever over accolades and stuff like that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, chaperoning your daughter's field trip. That's why I tell people it's like, man, there's 3 days a year I don't work. It's all my kids' birthdays. Like, can't get me for any price on those days. And even now, like, I'm so hyper focused on family that it's probably foolish. Someone who would look at the opportunities that I turn down and they're just like, dude, you don't want to go make a big budget movie and be away from your family for 3 or 4 months?
No.
No. Yeah, no, I don't. I have no interest in that. I hope that the opportunities will be around in another decade when I'm ready to go after that again. But right now I'm just focused on building here and being here. And I think that there's some beauty in that.
Yeah.
Even just for the kids 10 years younger than us, like I hosted a high school field trip a couple weeks ago, and none of them even really thought that this was possible in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they come downtown and see the office and they're like, dude, what the heck? This is crazy. And this, like, is right here in this town. You don't have to move to New York or LA anymore to do what we do.
Yep.
You can reach the world from Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's something I'm super excited about. So the brand that I created is called Feel Something. And I just really, when I think back at the core of my roots of who I am, I'm just like trying to evoke motion out of anything that I do. So feeling something is what I try to give to people. And I'm really hoping that like through my store, I'm able to create like a small group for, you know, kids that had grown up like in addiction and stuff like that, like with parents that are in addiction, and just being able to give them the knowledge that, you know, at all times I didn't have. And sometimes you have to learn stuff the hard way or learn stuff yourself, and just finding like a communal group. And just for me, I just think giving care to people is what is important. And every day it becomes more and more clear that that's what I really want to do, you know. And kids are the future, and it seems really cliche, and like there's times that kids frustrate me when they're screaming and yelling and stuff, but then like as you see the beauty of them growing and they're sponges and like they take after you and things, like my nephew Calvin's literally my favorite person because he's just so incredibly smart. And people say that, but it's like this kid's incredibly smart. And to watch the things that he does with the knowledge you give him in the world is like, there's no better feeling that I could ever recreate for someone than that. The ability to give and give a positive role model feeling to someone. I'm like, that's what I really want to do. Above all things, all these things matter, but like that's above it all.
Amen. Yeah, no, the fulfillment I get from being a father, and I mean, I even coach my daughter's soccer teams, just putting smiles on kids' faces. Yeah. Money in the bank doesn't matter. Awards on the wall doesn't mean anything. That's what makes me feel like a fulfilled person at the end of the day, is being able to, I don't want to say we're lucky because we're able to remain intact with our inner child, but like a lot of adults get worn down in this world and can't even think of sewing back into the youth like we are. And that's just something I feel really blessed about, is like, dude, I just feel like a big kid most days.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot of people, it seems redundant to say, but a lot of people are always like, well, how are you not a very stressed person and all these things? It's like, I just don't take stuff that serious. I'm still like a kid at heart, you know, and like the jobs I have just really allow me to like be myself. And no matter what, like anytime you get me, you're getting Logan. Like you may have a business name attached to it, but like you're getting a genuine me. And I may be cutting your hair, filming your wedding, or, you know, selling you some vintage stuff at this point, but you're getting me, and what's coming back from that is going to be someone that's giving to the world, you know. But I just find so much joy in that, and I just really hope that if I ever influence someone to do something, that the first thing that they'll see is taking a step towards their dream. That first step is the first step, you know. So being able to be that person that you want to be all starts by being brave enough to take your first step.
Mm-hmm. Amen. I just keep retweeting you. I don't know if I have much to add.
Yeah.
So like when I got into this, I found mentors were a really important thing because I wasn't super connected. Was that like similar for you, or how did you find your path?
Yeah, in all of these things, I'm at my job as a barber. I just all day I get free knowledge, right? I have we sit on Triple Crown, so I have the largest group of entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs in my back pocket, and they sit in my chair all day. And I don't know if you've experienced this or not, but the most successful people only want to give back and help. They want to see you succeed. So they do all these things, and all that they do is give me free knowledge and love me. They literally love me so much. And I'm like, how is that possible? You know what I mean? Someone that barely knows you or knows you for 30 minutes every 3 weeks for 5 years cares more about you than people that you've known your entire life, you know? So yeah, so I get a lot of free knowledge from them. And like I said, a big thing that they all say is kind of taking that step, being brave enough to do it. So in each one of these, I feel like that's what I'm good at, is finding people that are successful at these things and then latching onto them or like mimicking what they do because they've made it work. I wouldn't say that I'm like an ultra creative person. Sometimes I have super creative ruts. There's stuff that I'm really good at, but what I'm good at is people. And I feel like finding, a commonality in things and bringing people together, kind of like what you said that you're good at, bringing those people together and using their knowledge. That's what I feel like that's where success comes from. Is you're not going to be able to create, you can't create a wheel, a different way than the wheel's already created. And I feel like finding people that can streamline you to where you want to be, that's the cheat code.
So I guess to reiterate, soft skills pay the bills.
Yeah.
You hear that, kids? You can't just connect with these successful entrepreneurs on Instagram.
Yep.
You've actually got to go out there and provide value. I think that that's the other thing that you failed to mention is like you're adding value to their life. They come in, you give them a good haircut. That's why they're coming back every 3 weeks for 5 years. And I found a lot of that in terms of my path. It's just when you're coming to the door with nothing, like my mentors in the beginning, I just wanted to be a sponge. I'll work for free. I know nothing. You're the guy that comes up when I Google Cincinnati film producer, and I messaged all of them and was just begging via email. And fortunately, one of them took me under his wing and took me pretty far. And to your point, successful people want to see other people be as successful as them, if not slingshot them further, right? I think that there's two types of mentors. There's mentors that are like totem pole mentors where they always see themselves at the top and they don't really appreciate a new totem next to them that's 20 feet taller. But then there's like slingshot mentors that are like, okay, I'm going to teach you the cheat codes real quick and then don't call me. Like go.
I feel like that the totem pole one is inevitably you're going to have like people that have ego and stuff like that, because a lot of that stuff, it takes a certain amount of that to get to where you need to go. But you're going to run into people that, want to see you succeed so they can brag about it to themselves or feel achieved. And then you're going to see people that, like you said, they're going to give you the keys and send you down the drag strip. And then once you get to where they are, it's like, keep on going, buddy. Like, don't stop.
Amen. Yeah. I had a mentor that was like, all right, I'll see you in Spain one day, like just jokingly. And I was like, because he vacations there.
Yeah.
And I'm sending pictures like, dude, we're making this movie out here. And he's like, I knew it. I literally called it. Those are the type of people that are just fascinating to me and that I want to be more like, because it takes a certain type of person to not be jealous or not be envious of someone else's success as well, especially when you train them up. And that's what I just sow into all of these kids is, man, I want like all of you to go further than me so then I can say that I knew you one day. I don't want this to be like I met Chase Crawford, he came to my school. Dude, screw me. Like,
and I can say from a personal experience, when I first met you, I knew nothing about you, zero. You showed up, said, "Can I rent your camera?" I said yes. So we both went off a lot of trust just off of a mutual. And when I met you, I was like, this dude is radiating positivity, and I could feel that you like wanted, me to succeed. I could feel that you cared enough just to talk, and that's where I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him and I'm gonna see if he wants to do this, because I could feel that like you were a person that cared about others, and that's what I find value in.
Dude, that just sent chills up my chest. Come on now. No, I mean, I think you're just trying to. Yeah, my come up was pretty hard. Didn't have a ton of positivity around me.
Yeah.
I had like my mom. She's like my Donda character in my life, where she was just like, Chase, this is your life purpose. Like, keep going after it. There's 8 billion people in the world. Like, screw the 5 people that go to high school with you. I've told you that you're not going to be anything. And cool, had that. And then my wife, I mean, dedicated and loyal, and stuck it out at home while I was making these movies on the road for years. And yeah, years and years and years. I mean, even in COVID, when we were doing comedy specials, I was on the road 160, 170 days a year, different town, different weekend. And it was just like exhausting.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it really only takes a couple people to have a tribe, and then you got one.
Exactly.
And as long as you're genuine, I think it's like true to self, right? Who are you inside? And ultimately, sure, do I want my own success? Of course. That's why I wake up and work until the middle of the night and take crazy risk, and yeah, work with people who cold reach out to me via email and all of that stuff. There's still a lot of hope and inside of me that it's all going to work out. But ultimately, it's just like the general positivity of like, I've got mine. There's no excuse or reason why I wouldn't want anyone else to have theirs.
Exactly.
Unless I was just a spite-filled person that was like, oh, you can't do that. That's taking off my opportunities. Or you can't do that. It's taken away from me. Dude, I'm doing my own thing. I'm in my own world. I love when people come into it and participate in it and contribute to it. And I'll always come into your world and participate and contribute as well. But dude, there are just some people who are just too territorial.
Yeah.
And again, I just keep going back to the world is big, because it's so freaking big, man.
I think that's just such a great place to leave off, and it was a common theme through this all. What I do want to say is I find what you've done and what you're doing extraordinary. I think that it's even more amazing how humble you are about it, and I truly appreciate you not a big guy in me and coming here and doing this for me. And lastly, all I can say is screw those 5 people at your high school that said you can't do anything.
And one of them pissed on my car door, and he works at a 7-Eleven. So I don't.
Well,
cards kind of shook out all for everyone.
Karma. But thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And sorry it was scheduling hell. I'll even throw that out there. I know that you're doing it all by yourself, and I think we've been trying to get this date on the books for like the better part of 2 months. But
but it worked out well, and I think this was perfect timing, like everything is. So appreciate you.
Awesome. And I'll recommend like a bajillion more guests for you.
Thank you.